Shin Godzilla is a 2016 Japanese film directed by Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi. If you recognize Hideaki Anno's name, it is because he was the mastermind behind the classic Mecha vs. Kaiju anime, Neon Genesis Evangelion. And if you recognize Higuchi, it is because he directed the Gamera trilogy and 2 live-action Attack on Titan films. So both directors already had an experience with giant, terrifying kaijus and monsters and large-scale disasters. Shin Godzilla is a reboot of the 1954 Godzilla film directed by Ishiro Honda. Now, Godzilla has been in the spotlight heavily in Japanese media and in Hollywood as well. But none of the films changed Godzilla as much as Shin Godzilla. I think what made both Godzilla and Shin Godzilla so great was the political commentary. In the 1954 Godzilla film, Godzilla personified the Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bomb droppings and the radioactive disaster it caused, as well as taking some inspiration from the Tokyo fire raids by the United States during World War II and the Lucky Dragon 5 event, where 23 tuna fishers on a boat were contaminated by nuclear fallout from a hydrogen bomb test by the United States at Bikini Atoll. Godzilla commented on Japan's response to the disaster and the use of mass weapons of war and the guilt that followed it. Honda was drafted in the Japanese army and experienced the aftermath of Hiroshima and the horrific images he saw, and it slowly began to turn into the kaiju film we know and love in his head. Shin Godzilla, being the 31st entry to the Godzilla franchise, gave us something new, but still stuck with the same premise, this time representing something more relevant, which happened to be the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster caused by the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, and the Japanese government's stance on military actions. In Shin Godzilla, we see the Japanese military defiant and ready to act on the impending disaster brought by the destructive force of Godzilla. In 1954, Japan's military has only served as a contingency effort to stop natural disasters. This was due to the Constitution General Douglas MacArthur forced onto Japan. In Article 9, it stated that the Japanese people forever renounce war as a sovereign right of the nation and the threat or use of force as a means of settling international disputes. However, recently, as threats began to loom over Japan, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe slowly began a shift into a more unified and stronger military force. Abe is gradually letting go of Japan's pacifism and slowly going into a more defensive state. In Shin Godzilla, we see a stronger military force up against Godzilla, trying to take the creature down, inciting that the military is needed to defend the country from large-scale threats, and also influence the nationalistic tone the film carried. Just like Honda's Godzilla film, Shin Godzilla is also a metaphor of a prolific nuclear disaster and the government's response to it. In the film, we see the government responding to the radiation while social workers were out helping citizens to safety, similar to what was happening in Japan in 2011. In The Last Dance, we see brave Japanese men and women facing off against the dangers of radiation poisoning for their country, referencing Dr. Yoshida and his team of engineers who risked their lives to turn off 12 out of the 13 active generators in the Daiichi nuclear power plant. So Honda's Godzilla and Anno and Higuchi's Shin Godzilla both had heavy political commentary and had the respective versions of Godzilla mean something similar, but also represented something 2 different generations could relate to. Shin Godzilla's design was unorthodox, yet familiar. Instead of making Godzilla the same old giant amphibious biped lizard creature, Higuchi and Anno decided to give Godzilla a rapid evolutionary pattern similar to a frog. Each time Shin Godzilla appeared, he was a lot more adapted and suitable to his environment. Fans of the film and this Godzilla gave names to each evolutionary stage. The first one was only shown as a giant tail while the rest of the body was submerged underwater, so we aren't sure how the entire form looks like. The second form was given the name Kamada-kun, named after Kamada, Tokyo, where he first made landfall. The word kun is a Japanese honorific and is used by older people referring to a younger man. Kamada-kun gained the ability to walk on land unlike its preceding self, but without the lack of proper balance and arms, it wasn't able to maneuver the urban landscape. Kamada-kun also still had gills extruding blood. After a brief hiatus on his rampage, probably due to exhaustion and pain, Kamada-kun evolves into Shinagawa-kun, after the city Shinagawa, and still has a junior honorific attached to his name. This time, Shinagawa-kun had arms and better stability. We also see the beginning of his atomic breath. This form was hit with a barrage of bullets and missiles before evolving into his final form called Kamakura-san, which is named after Kamakura. This form closely resembles the original Godzilla design, possessing beady eyes, black skin, and dorsal scales. Kamakura-san had perfect physical balance and was able to maneuver the urbanscape with ease. He also gained the ability to project atomic beams from his mouth, dorsal scales, and tail. Both Godzilla designs are similar yet different, and their origins are also a little different. While one was immediately awakened from a nuclear accident, the other one was born because of nuclear waste and gained the ability to evolve. With all this said, why do I believe Shin Godzilla is a really good reboot? It's because it delivers something fresh and interesting while also remaining somewhat faithful to the character of Godzilla in terms of overall look and abilities. The lesson we can take away from Shin Godzilla is that it's about riding that fine line between new and the same. We recognize Godzilla, yet we're still intrigued and captivated and wondering what will he do next. The political tone in Shin Godzilla also rode that line between same and new, in that Shin Godzilla represented Japan's relationship with nuclear warfare and use, but also was more relevant to modern Japanese audience members. What I want to see from reboots in any film industry is this, giving us something new while still remaining the same. If you enjoyed this quick breakdown, then you'll be glad to hear that there are more incoming. If you have any concern with the material that was stated throughout this video, let us know in the comments.